What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the CPI. So we're going to take a look at inflation. I just did a video a couple of days ago where I was talking about inflation and how that could impact the cost of living adjustment for people receiving Social Security benefits and veterans. And right now, that does seem to be the case. If we continue to see this progression, it will impact the cost of living adjustment. And so let me show you guys what I'm talking about. This is the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and we're going to take a look at inflation as of October. Okay, so remember, they go back a month. So we're going to get the information in November from October, and then in December, we'll get the information for November. But right now, we're looking at a CPI, or a consumer price index, of 2.6%. Okay, now, when we were talking about COLA, we know COLA was 2.5%. That was the increase. And so now that we're seeing the CPI above that 2.5%, and this is year over year, that means that your purchasing power is not as strong as it was last month, if you really want to look at it that way, because last month it was 2.4%. Now, I'm saying this before the cost of living adjustment has even kicked in. And so we're looking at 2.6%. This is before you even start receiving that small increase, we know. But I just want to show you this because if we see this continue to be a pattern, then guess what? If it continues to rise, now we're looking at a situation where it could be around 3%. We could be seeing CPI at 3%. And so your cost of living adjustment will be impacted even more. And so we're just keeping an eye on it now, but this could continue to go up. And the anticipation, you have economists out there right now, they're anticipating that we're going to see inflation rise again. And there are a few different factors behind this, some of Trump's plans that he wants to implement, as well as what the Federal Reserve is doing. The Federal Reserve is cutting interest rates right now, which means it makes it more desirable to borrow money, to spend money. If that is the case, if we're spending more, we're going to see inflation rise. That's how it works. Okay, I want to take a look at some of the last months, just so you can see kind of comparison here. And so we're in October right here. This is the information we have from October, and it was 0.2%. This is month to month. And then in September, we also saw 0.2%. August, we saw 0.2%. July, we saw 0.2%. And in June, we actually saw a decrease. So there wasn't an increase at all. It was minus 0.1%. And then in May, it was even. And then in April, we saw 0.3%, 0.4% in March, 0.4% in February, 0.3% in January. So that rounds out our year. This is what we've been looking at. So you see this roller coaster here. We dropped down. We were doing good here, and then we started to go back up, and then now we're just leveled off at 0.2%. And looking at some more information here, we're focused on core inflation. And so core inflation is red here. Core inflation is what the Federal Reserve likes to use as a barometer as far as raising or cutting interest rates. So looking at core inflation, and core inflation's all items except food and energy. Okay, food and energy tend to be the most volatile, so that's why they take those out. And so looking right now, it is at about, 3.3%, somewhere around that area. You see it's kind of in the middle. And then when we're looking at all items inflation is at 2.6%. And so as I stated, you see that all items went down here, and now it's starting to go back up. And how high will it go? That is the question. And when we're looking at core inflation, it's going up. You see the rise, but it's not going up as much. And as I stated, food and energy are the most volatile when it comes to looking at this information. Okay, so I want to zoom in and talk a little bit about some of the different categories here, some of the big changes that we've seen. So all items here, once again, 2.6%. Now, when we start looking at some of the different categories, we're looking at energy here. Energy is minus 4.9%, so that's good. We want minus. Minus means that it's less expensive this year than it was last year, okay? And looking at energy commodities here, minus 12.4%. Gasoline, all types, minus 12.2%. That's good. That means gas prices are going down. Fuel, oil, minus 20%, 20.8%. And so this category is a plus to our economy. And then when we look at new vehicles, minus 1.3 new vehicles, so that's good. And then used vehicles, minus 3.4. So we see when it comes to automobiles, seems like those prices are less expensive, or at least slightly less expensive than they were last year, and that's also good. And some of the other areas that we're seeing a rise, we're seeing a 2.1% increase here. That's year to date, and that is when it comes to food, all categories. We look at food at home. This is one that I really like to look at because these are groceries here. 1.1% increase, and month to month, we're looking at a 0.1% increase there. So it's actually doing better. If you look at this, it's doing better than it did in September. So it's moving in the right direction. So September, we had a 0.4% increase month to month. And now in October, we have a 0.1% increase month to month. So that's good. And then if you move back to August, you saw here there was no change. In July, we had a 0.1%. June, we had a 0.1%. And then in May, we had no change. So when it comes to food, it's pretty much at this point, with an exception to September, food is kind of leveled off. Now, we want the food category to go down, food at home especially, but right now we're kind of seeing similar numbers, like I said, with the exception of September. Now, the anticipation is inflation might continue to rise. And one other thing that we need to talk about is November, December, this is shopping season. People are going to be shopping for groceries for Thanksgiving. They're going to be shopping for groceries for Christmas. We're going to be buying gifts, all this stuff. And that is also inflationary. So we could see November numbers and December numbers higher than this 2.6%. And so that's the CPI information that we have currently. I will be doing a more detailed video. We'll look at more of the items because I like to look at food items, but I like to break it down into some of the different categories. So we'll do that in the future. I'm getting ready to jump on a plane, so I had to get this video out before then. If you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know down below. But ultimately, this is not good news if you're comparing this to the cost of living adjustment. Yes, cost of living was 2.5%. We're now looking at inflation at 2.6%. Make sure you like and share the video, and please consider subscribing to the channel. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye.